Welcome back to Maximum News, all you beautiful people. My name is Max Derrat, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin. And joining me as always is...
Sybsidian of the Triple S League.
And by God, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Breaking news, E3 is done, son. And like permanently, it's the end of an era. We're definitely going to be talking about that. But closer towards the end of the show, we obviously have to break down the Game Awards that happened last Thursday. Who won, what the announcements were, because that's where all the juiciest material is. But don't worry, we'll give our eulogy for the Electronic Entertainment Expo at the very end of the show. But first, I don't want to jump right into like the winners and the announcements. I think it'd be just best just to talk about our general impressions of the show overall. Before I give mine, I want to ask you, Syb, did you watch?
We got home we got home about 10 minutes after it had started.
Okay.
And then we were able to watch the whole thing.
Okay, good.
We were streaming it in our actual in our Discord.
Okay.
We got delayed and there was no way to get home in time, and Ash got busy.
Okay. So did you get back like when the pre-show was happening, or was it like 10 minutes after the official start of the show?
No, during the pre-show. So we were there for the whole thing.
Okay. Great.
But when you're streaming, we always want to have a pre-show time, because nobody's watching the few minutes into the pre-show, nobody's switching over to check out somebody else streaming it. So
right. Okay. So you pretty much caught the majority of the stuff, except like I think the first announcement of the night was that Brothers game from way back in the day, the one made by the same guy who made It Takes Two and A Way Out, was getting a remake, which is pretty cool. But yeah. So anyways, what are your overall impressions of this year's Game Awards?
Starting to feel a little corporate-y.
Yeah.
And Keeley's got to watch out for that, because that is what killed E3. And if he thinks that he's going to be different just because, that's not going to happen. And every giant can bleed. So yeah, you got to be really careful with that.
Yeah.
I think it was a big problem this year.
Yeah. A lot of people noticed it across social media. People are picking up on. It's called the Game Awards. Why isn't it more about celebrating the medium and the people who are contributing to its advancement, and more so about bringing in celebrities that don't necessarily have any affiliation with the medium, as well as putting in a whole bunch of advertisements for games, and it, more so all that and less about the awards themselves. A lot of people were noticing that, and it was a lot more palatable this year. And yeah, it is a significant problem. But yeah, so aside from that, any other thoughts?
Not really. Just overall, it was like, as far as like the actual show side of it, not the announcements, not the awards, but the show side of it's like he's got to change things up. He can't just copy what Hollywood does. He's got to find a way to do it a little bit better. And they've got to find maybe a proper, like full-on proper host. Like I'm talking like comedian host who can keep things chatting and yet still be sort of relevant, and then kind of like tie into some of the more of the, like the meme culture, that kind of stuff. That's how you're going to hold the gamer audience.
Yeah.
And they need to improve the way that they do reveals and stuff like that too.
Yeah, maybe somebody like an actual like voice actor or a motion capture actor that has good charisma and can hold the audience and tell good jokes over the course of over 3 hours. Like a first person that comes to mind is somebody like Christopher Judge. He certainly has that. He has the voice, he has the presence, he has the comedy, and he's a recognizable name. Another one is just like kind of an obvious one, but David Hayter. I mean, he's also an actor, and he's a very, very entertaining guy, and everybody knows him. But yeah, there's multiple other ones on top of that. Like, crap, can you imagine like a Game Awards hosted by, what's his name? Neil Newbin, the guy who voices the vampire dude from Baldur's Gate 3?
Yeah, it would be good. And that's where I think now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually thinking, no, I think I'm wrong. I don't think we want a single person. I think we want a team of people who can like riff off each other, like bounce off each other as far as like comedy goes, and who can be that like really funny group that can, and then have it just be like a little bit more entertaining, like slightly scripted, whatnot. But I mean, also like streamers too. Like there's a dozen streamers that could do a better job, because a couple days after this, they had the OTK held their official first game awards, and I've got to say, as far as entertainment value, OTK one was way better.
What's OTK?
So OTK, that's the big stream. So that's Asmongold. That's all the big S-Fan.
Yeah,
that's all those big streamers, and they had the owner of Twitch there, not Jeff Bezos, but the guy who runs Twitch.
Right.
He was there to do awards as well. And so just very quickly, because all the awards were basically the same, a couple differences here and there. But one of the running gags that they had through the thing was that the first couple of envelopes holding the card with the winner's name on them, they started out smaller, really tiny, and they actually had to like fidget with them quite a bit to get them open because they were heavily glued. And then from there, it gradually got bigger till the end of the show. The final award was in a person-sized envelope.
Oh, that's cute.
And so it just progressively kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it wasn't until about halfway through when people were like, God, what's happening with these envelopes? Why are they so big? Right. And they and people started doing that. That's what makes the culture of people who watch this kind of stuff regularly. Those funny moments that you remember. So instead of laughing at somebody's poor delivery of an award speech, you're laughing about the thing that was actually made to be funny. And like that's where I think Keeley is I think he's missing out on that there, because he's not focusing on what can be done with the side of the humor side of things. Instead, he's got Fonzie.
Muppets.
No, he's got the Muppets on again.
Yeah.
And it's like, why nobody?
Yeah, what is it with him and the Muppets? It's like the one thing that he loves more than Hideo Kojima is the Muppets.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's very, very, very bizarre.
Yeah, I completely like. I wouldn't be. I'm fine for either a single host or multiple hosts as sort of providing entertainment as the show goes along. Just whatever makes for a good flow, while also putting greater focus on what an award show should be. It should be about the games, the merits, what made them the greatest games of that particular year, and having them voted on by a large body of people that are actually a part of the industry. And that's not to say that you can't have elements of entertainment or announcements that happen during the broadcast. I think that's fine. I do think it should be curbed back a little bit. Now, people will be like, well, I like the announcements. That's fine. But you can have the companies do what they do all year round. Like, if you like having huge showcases, then maybe Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft or Ubisoft or whoever the hell you care about can have like their state of plays and the Nintendo Directs and whatever at the end of the year around that time. So you can still have Game Awards and you can still have large announcements. You know, people can put on showcases at any time. So I don't really think it would be that big of a deal if they curb back on the announcements that much. That said, though, there were a lot of announcements, and we're going to talk about them in a second. But first, very quickly, I'll just say, like, I generally agree with Syb's sentiments. The show was fine. All those problems that Syb is bringing up, they're very real, and they need to be addressed as in the next couple of years. Otherwise, it could spell like what Syb just said about like how the Game Awards can meet a similar fate that E3 did. But yeah, at the moment, I was fine with the way that the show went on. I mostly just played. What was I playing on my Steam Deck while the show was like at the midway point? I was just playing Nier Replicant on my Steam Deck after the first hour or so, and I was just waiting for like the major stuff to come up. But yeah, so let's move on to the actual winners of the night, talk about who won, who didn't win, who should have won, all that sort of stuff. Off the bat, though, there is some justice in the world side. Baldur's Gate 3 won 6 awards.
7
awards.
Technically.
7? What do you mean?
Because Neil won for his voice role in it.
Well, that is included in the list of 6 that I got here. So, the list that I have here is that Baldur's Gate 3 won, obviously, the major award, the Game of the Year, and well-deserved. Best performance, as I've just said. And then there's Best Community Support, Best RPG, Best Multiplayer, and Player's Choice.
Oh, 6 it is 6, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, a lot of really, really damned good categories, and it deserved it. It was the obvious choice for all of them. But, Baldur's Gate 3, Sab, I've been playing it a little bit more over the past few weeks, and every time I sit down to play it with my wife, I'm just consistently amazed at just how much content is packed in there and how it all manages to function. It's unlike any game that I've ever encountered. It's so technically proficient. All the disciplines that go into making a game are so well represented here. Everything from music to gameplay to performances to graphics to art direction to sound design and addictive gameplay. It's just all there. And it's so well refined that I have a hard time believing that we're going to be able to see anything that comes close to it in the next 5 to 7 years. Maybe Grand Theft Auto 6, maybe, or whatever Valve puts out next. But it's amazing. And then the other one, the other major winner, I think pretty much every other game only got like 1 or 2. I think that one of those was Super Mario Brothers Wonder. But the other major winner was Alan Wake 2. It won Best Narrative, which I believe it deserved. But then, Alan Wake 2 is my personal game of the year, but I'm not sure it deserved Best Direction and Best Art Direction. Because even though the art direction and the direction in Alan Wake 2 is very good, there are either problems with the direction, or there are other games that I believe beat it in terms of art direction. So in the category of art direction, I firmly believe that either Hi-Fi Rush or Lies of P would get it over Alan Wake 2 because of just maybe not the uniqueness in terms of Lies of P, but just in terms of how much it immerses you in the world, and how unique it is with Hi-Fi Rush. Although the one game that should have won the Best Art Direction award wasn't even nominated in that category, and that's Hogwarts Legacy. Thank you very much. Best Direction. Like I said, it's a well-directed game, but it should have gone to Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And
because
go ahead.
I 100% agree, because again, you have, like, in a sense, these games have been done before, but we haven't seen a game
like Baldur's Gate 3
for a really long time. And that's also, like, we haven't seen a game that genre defining and that genre like moving since since either you really, there's 2, it's the first Mass Effect game, which wasn't, like, it was really good, but it was so difficult. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone back to play it, but it's very difficult to play. The UI is garbage. There's a bunch of like big issues with it. And you mostly remember it for story, not necessarily the gameplay. But the one that I want to point out is the same studio, obviously, was the first of the Dragon Age Origins. That was the one that was really defining the fact that every character's start was different in the sense of, like, race and background kind of thing. And, like, that's actually really cool. That's actually really important to note. And I really did like that they defined those different character starts, because that was actually quite brilliant. And that was the one thing that was kind of missing here. And something that I wish that they had added, where instead of starting on the ship, which I think is a brilliant starting way to start it, I almost wish that they could have added in a, you're in Baldur's Gate and at level 1, and you're there with whatever setting you choose, right? So you got all those backgrounds and stuff like that. Adding that would have been the only way that they could have one up that.
Yeah.
But as far as, again, in comparison, it really is a genre defining moment. And I think that you're right with Hi-Fi Rush. You also had that sort of like, hey, this is a new thing that nobody's done, in this way for a very long time. And so this is really like, it's a super fresh take. I mean,
Hi-Fi Rush wasn't nominated for direction, though. It was nominated for art direction. Just making sure that's clear.
Yeah, but it's like that kind of a concept is also really good because you have this direction, you have this thing moving in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I completely agree, dude. Like, again, Baldur's Gate 3, just the... Yeah. You know what? We've gone over it enough, not only in this show, but in past shows about why it deserves it over Alan Wake 2. All right. Going to a few other categories. Best score in music went to Final Fantasy 16. Good. It should have. I said that from the very beginning. Best audio design went to Hi-Fi Rush, obviously. Best independent game went to Sea of Stars. Dude, anybody I ever hear talk about playing Sea of Stars says it's like one of the best games that they played in a very long time. So it's very good to see it got some recognition there. Best debut indie game, Cocoon, same thing as with Sea of Stars. And then best action and best action adventure. Best action went to Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, which is fine. Like it's from Software. They rock. I haven't played that game yet though, but again, like I know a couple people that are so obsessed with it, they platinumed it and they don't have a platinum games. So that's how good it is apparently. And then obviously best action adventure, Tears of the Kingdom won it. I'm just curious though, like how the Game Awards define the difference between best action and best action adventure, because like, we know what the difference is, but the difference between the two can easily get muddy, and it can be viewed as sort of just categories that are there as sort of pity awards, because like Armored Core 6 and Tears of the Kingdom, everybody that I've ever heard play them say they're amazing, but obviously they're not going to win up against games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake 2. Not Baldur's Gate. Yeah, anyways. So I don't know. I'm just curious about how they define that, but whatever, they got them. And that's pretty much all the standout ones. I will say, though, just my one little gripe, and I know Saib is going to disagree with me on this, but the one thing that I really thought, the one category that I thought should have gone another direction was that I do believe Ben Starr should have gotten the Best Performance Award for playing Clive Rossfield in Final Fantasy 16 over Neil. It's not to say, like, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, and Neil is bloody amazing playing that vampire in that game. And he adds so much personality and humor to that game. But the difference here...
Before you say this, you say your butt, have you dropped the sun on him?
No, not yet.
Okay. Make sure you drop the sun on him, because then that's the moment that I was like, he wins. That acting, that was brilliant. That's one of my favorite lines, I think, in gaming that I have up to this point.
Okay, well, fair enough. And I'll see if my opinion changes then. But my ultimate argument is that, look, Final Fantasy 16, even though I love that game, I will admit that it has a lot of problems. It's actually, like, for a game that I love so much, it's amazing that I actually have so many problems with it. But the reason that I love it so much is because the things that are good about it are so good that it's making me it makes me willing to overlook all those negatives. And one of the huge positives is the performance of Ben Starr as Clive Rossfield. The fact that he alone was able to take the first major Final Fantasy game that isn't all about, the congregation of a whole bunch of people into a party, and it's more just a story focused on a single character, and he's able to carry it forward to the point where, a lot of people are saying it's the best Final Fantasy game that we've gotten in over a decade. a lot of that is due to his performance, which is significant. Now, I'm fine that Neil won it. Like I said, he did a wonderful job. But I think on that basis alone, it should have gone to Ben. But that's my only major gripe. I think pretty much everybody else won everything that they should have won. Save for maybe, Hogwarts Legacy should have been nominated for art direction and won, but that's it.
Yeah.
Anything else stand out to you, Seb?
Best esports. I gotta throw it to League, because it's like they keep staying on top, and it's like this is I think it's more stating that they have a dedicated fan base, but they've managed to keep it interesting and compelling for all this time. And we're gonna see huge news coming out of Riot over the next 3 years. Absolutely massive news. We're talking bunch of new games set in that IP. We're talking the MMO, probably one of the most anticipated things that we have in that. And it's all coming. It's not coming tomorrow. It's obviously going to be a long time from now, but that's very, very exciting to see. So yeah, really, really, really loving that. And then I got to give a shout out to Iron Mouse as well. Partially because, this is she's a VTuber. She's a VTuber with a serious immune deficiency. She actually has to get, in order to live week to week, she needs plasma donations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she has no, she's one of these people that are born without an immune system. So she basically lives in a bubble, and this is how she gets out there. And I looked into it. It's been confirmed. There have been like people who've confirmed that yeah, she actually does live this way. She's pretty private, but it's like, it's yeah. And I gotta give the trash award to the journalist who attacked her for apparently no reason. Like, just thinking like, hey, this is a way to get clicks on this article. So yeah, games journalist gets the fail this year. I know that wasn't a real award, but they do because of the way that they reacted to Iron Mouse winning that. Like, what an absolute crap move.
Yeah, that's like being a movie journalist and talking about apparently how Keanu Reeves is this huge jerk. Nobody believes you. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, those were the awards, mostly predictable, but I'm very happy that for the most part they went to everybody that I believe, and most people tended to believe really deserved it, at least from what I'm able to gather. Okay, now on to the stuff that people tend to care about the most when it comes to the Game Awards. And I say that as, we were just talking about how we wish the Game Awards were more about the awards. Yeah, that's fine. But as things are right now, where it's more about the announcements, then I'm going to care about the announcements. And I can hold both opinions, where I care more about the announcements, but I think it should be more about an award show anyways. So, I'm just going to list the ones that sort of stood out to me the most. I'm going to start off with some of the ones that I think were interesting, not because I'm particularly excited for them, but are worth talking about, and then go into the ones that I'm more excited about. So, Space Marine 2. So I started playing the original Warhammer 40k Space Marine, the one that came out like over a decade ago. It's a decent game. It's stupid fun, mindless fun where you're just killing hordes of goblins and stuff, but it's fun. And ever since I saw that trailer for the sequel, where like the graphics and just the increased numbers of hordes that you can go up against, I was actually getting pretty pumped for it. And it was supposed to release, if people will recall, later this year, like around November or December. Well, not anymore, because according to the Game Awards trailer, it's now coming out September 9th. Of 2024. So 9 or 10 months after the fact. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm still excited for it, but just something worth pointing out. Skull and Bones. I mean, it has a release date, but do we believe that it's coming out?
What is this game? Skull and Bones? Skull and Bones. Oh, what an interesting idea, concept for a game. I wonder where it's like I have this vision, this very faint memory of a game with that name.
Of a flag floating in the wind, and like the color black. Yeah, something like that.
I seem to remember that it was announced like a decade ago, and then it was announced again like 9 years ago, and then it was announced again 8 years ago, and then it was announced again 7 years ago, and then it was announced again 6 years, and it's been doing that for a decade.
Right.
Oh wait, no, this is that game. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, color me like a little bit skeptical. Like they do say that it's coming out February 16th of next year. We'll see if that actually happens because we live in a world where the day before exists. Oh yeah, we're gonna be talking about that after this.
You know what would have been great for that title?
What's that?
Is if they had dropped the first version of the game right after Black Flag, just put out the thing with slight modifications, charged as little as they possibly could have.
People
and
would
said,
have bought it.
Hey, we're going to make a series out of this. Expect a new one in 2 to 3 years. And we're going to improve on all the stuff that you kind of want while you're playing this early, this first version. But it's cheap because it's easy. It was already existing basically in the game. We just made some additions. Here you go. Go nuts. And then if they had just improved on, they could have had a series running for a decade at this point. And instead, what do they have? What do they have to show? Absolutely nothing. Except for this now, which I'm not salty about this at all. I'm not shaking my head at all at the stupidity of this whole ordeal.
Yeah. Syb's being sarcastic, but like myself, I'm actually not shaking my head at all because this is Ubisoft and we've come to expect this from them. All right. Moving on. Rise of the Ronin. This is a game that I've been very curious about ever since it was announced 2 years ago. I love Team Ninja's games. I love Neo. I even love their most recent one, which not everybody was huge on, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. And the new one is called Rise of the Ronin. I've been wondering when the release date is going to be. This is interesting, Syb. It's coming out the same day that Dragon's Dogma 2 was coming out.
Right.
Why? Why, God? Why? I really want to play both of these games, but I obviously have to prefer Dragon's Dogma 2 because, the first one is wonderful, and the trailers for the game just look off the chain, and it's looking like it's going to be good content for my channel. But yeah, Rise of the Ronin still looks really damn good. I'm going to pick it up. It's just I might not be able to play it the same day. Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm not a Monster Hunter guy. I've never played a Monster Hunter game, but I know a lot of people are really excited about it, and I do want to get into it. Maybe this will be my excuse to finally play Monster Hunter World, because I know my wife wants to play it. And then obviously God of War Ragnarok Valhalla getting a free roguelite update. Naughty Dog, take note, if you will. All right. Now on to some of the things that I'm really excited for. Black Myth Wukong, another Souls-type game coming from that Chinese studio. A lot of people have been sort of obsessed with how good this game looks for the past 3 years, ever since it was first announced. Finally got a release date, August 20th of next year. That's fine. I'm fine waiting until then. At least we finally have something with the set release date a little bit later in the year, because pretty much everything that we know that's for sure coming out in 2024 with an official release date is coming out earlier. Now we have something a little bit later alongside Space Marine 2. The Hellblade 2 trailer, the graphics for that game continue to look amazing. We still don't have an exact release date. Although the trailer that they released does firmly continue to say that it is releasing in 2024. So let's hope they stick to that.
I think it'll come out then. They've had a long time to work on it.
7 years.
This isn't a game that, it's not like the world is absolutely massive, or they're using breaking edge technology that's never been seen before.
Well, they are.
Well, but they are, but it's not in the way that it would take, not in a way that it would easily cost them another 10 years. Right?
Yes, sure. They're not going full GTA, where they're doing animations for the ends of people's hair and crap. But yeah, still looks amazing. It's still my most anticipated game of next year, and I love the trailer. One of my most pleasant surprises of the night was that the Final Fantasy 16 DLC released the same night. One of two. And it was a very pleasant surprise, because we have been led to believe by the developers, yeah, we didn't actually have any plans for DLC, but because people are so enthusiastic, we're going to do it. Yeah, well, they were lying. But I'm glad that they were lying because I love Final Fantasy 16, in case I didn't make that very clear earlier on. I did play some of the DLC too. I got about halfway through it, and it's fine. It's a return to a lot of the same locations. The boss fights are pretty awesome, though. As they tend to be in this game. I imagine what this first DLC is going to be like. It's sort of what Ashes of Ariandel was in Dark Souls 3, where it was fine, but the bosses were the highlight. But then the second DLC is going to come out and blow everybody out of the water. That sort of seems to be the case. So yeah, a few more. The Blade game. Wow. This could be like, okay, Arcane, they've had a really rough year, to put it nicely, with the release of Redfall, but I don't necessarily put that down entirely to their lack of talent. It was just like they shouldn't have made that type of game in the first place. But given that the fact that these are the same people that developed Dishonored, can you imagine taking the gameplay ethic of a Dishonored and applying that to Blade? From Marvel Comics? Are you kidding me? That could be dope. What do you think, Sad?
It's good, but it's set in Paris?
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'm totally down with that. I mean, it could add so much personality. And plus, vampires are sexy. Paris is sexy. I don't know. I forget that I said that. What else do we have here? Oh, this was really interesting. The Sega remakes. This one got, I was watching a stream with a YouTuber that I'm really a big fan of, a guy named Vash. This got the biggest pop from him and the chat. Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, they're all getting remakes? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. I cannot wait to jam to Hello Allison, I want to hold your hand. Yeah, anybody who's ever played those games knows that song. Whatever the hell they're going to bring to these games in the new era, I'm really excited for. Did you ever play any of those old Dreamcast games? Or like Shinobi and crap like that?
A few of them. I didn't. I always wanted. That was kind of like my it's kind of like my Sega was the console that I wanted as a kid, as a very young kid. There was the Nintendo, and then there was the PlayStation, and there was that debate. And I looked at the Sega, and I was like, "No, I'm going to be different. I want a Sega."
Yeah,
and
because Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Then, literally the next day, I heard that they were no longer going to be making consoles. Yeah, so that broke my little whatever year old heart. I was really young.
Yeah.
But that was kind of disappointing. But that's fine because I got into PCs, and PCs are the best. They are the perfect form.
Why are you doing it with the German accent, I wonder? All right.
I wonder.
Yeah, I'm just okay, and just a couple more.
Visions of Mana looks really, really cool. I went nuts over the Mana series game that came out for the PC, the remake that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because that was one of my childhood favorite games. So here's to hoping they do it right.
Yeah, that game looks actually really cool. That and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, they seem to be sort of following the sort of gameplay formula that the Tales of series has done, and I'm all about that because those games are awesome. And I'm only I've been aware of the Mana series, but I've never played any of the games. But that trailer made me really want to play them. I'm sorry, Said to I know you have a few games that you want to highlight yourself. I just have two more, and then I know which games you want to talk about, particularly Exodus. All right, Light No Fire. That's the new game that's coming from the developers of No Man's Sky. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be an amazing game. But they're going to release it in 3 years, and it's going to be crap. And then after 4 years, it's going to be the way it should have always been, and it's going to be amazing then. So thankfully, it's kind of a blessing having been disappointed by No Man's Sky way back in the day, because now I can play the game when it comes out with no expectations and kind of enjoy it, and then slowly love it. And then finally, obviously, this was my biggest pop of the night and biggest surprise, was that Kojima announced his other project that he's doing alongside Death Stranding 2. It's called OD, which stands for Overdose. It's looking to be a horror type game. What I did not expect, though, was that he was going to be doing this as a collaboration with Jordan Peele. Now,
Yeah.
I love Get Out. I wasn't huge on Us, and Nope was okay. That said, I do think that this is a match made in heaven, because if you combine Kojima's writing sensibilities with Jordan Peele's unique ability to create tension, you could create something really, really special. Because the one thing that Jordan Peele's films have in spades, regardless of their overall quality, is tension. And applying that to Kojima's weird-ass OD could be something really, really special. That said, we don't know anything really about it. They're saying it's sort of like a hybrid experience of a game with other types of media. I don't know what the hell that means, but just the mere prospect of these two auteurs working together to create something unique and innovative is enough for me to be excited and make it my most beloved announcement of the night. So those are that's everything on my list. Saib, I know you probably want to begin with Exodus.
Yeah, I was gonna make a whole bunch of quips and funny comments about a bunch of games, but we are very short on time today. So
okay.
Lots of funny things. One of the guy who came out, he's like, I quit acting to do this game, and at first I was horrified. I was like, oh no, he got scammed by some people who told him they could make a game because the close up on the character, the Tales of Kenzura. I was like, oh my goodness, looks terrible. Then I realized it was a side scroller, so it's like a 2D game, and that's the engine that they have when they zoom in on his face is actually just because it's like you're not rendering him as a character in a small environment, you're rendering him in this large, wide, big open shot where you're running around on in a 2D playing field. And it was like, no, this is great for that level of graphics to be in that kind of a game. That looks really cool. So give a shout out to him, because I think that's pretty awesome, and it looks like he actually understood the idea and the concept behind it. So kudos, love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah,
I think it's great. But no, the big one, you're right, 100%. We've got a game from the former BioWare developers who we've been following for a really long time, and we now finally have the reveal. So this is very interesting. We're going to expect to see something big from this. I'm going to do a full breakdown into archetype and who they are and what they're going to be doing and what they're going to be offering. I'll kind of do a full breakdown into that later on, but it's like this is the game that has the potential to fill that Mass Effect hole that we've had, and I hope that they do it good. I hope that they do it right. It looks good, but this is a trailer. This is not quite where the game is at. There's some funky, weird stuff with some of the animations, a little bit maybe, but no, this is like I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, this is promising. This looks good. I can see where they're going with this. I just hope that they smash it out of the park.
Yeah.
So yeah.
As gamers like Saib and I, and a lot of other gamers like us, we tend to not pay too much attention to CG trailers because we care more about gameplay. I'll just say this though: with the trailer that they showed us, it does show that they're creating a world that has a pretty decent amount of character and amount of thought, at least, into the world that they're creating. Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not that translates into a good game, who knows? Maybe it'll be like a Callisto Protocol situation. God, I hope not. But yeah. Anything else?
No, that's about it. Like, okay. All of these games are very interesting. Most of them, like all of them, have been promised for next year or a year later. So we'll kind of like keep our eye on this stuff and then kind of track them as they all go forward. There was even some games that were on the list, like Zenless Zone Zero. I think it's got a lot of work before it's like ready to release. So hopefully they'll get all that done in time. It's getting kind of close, so yeah.
Right.
And then yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
So
not like, yeah, other than that, not much else really like jumped out at me other than the stuff we've already talked about or that you talked about.
Gotcha. All right, so that was this year's Game Awards. Yeah, again, just to summarize, not that great of a show. We're happy that the awards went to what we believe are the right people. We're happy with the announcements. It's just the show itself that we think can be a little bit better structured and reflect, be a better representation of the medium. But hopefully Jeff Keighley hears those criticisms and is able to incorporate that feedback over the next few years. All right. 40 minutes discussion on that. And so we're low on time. So let's get through this next stuff. Side 2023, really damn good year for games. However, we have had some significant stinkers. We've had Gollum, which one of the worst rated games ever. We also had that Kong game that everybody tore to shreds because like the developers were only given a year to make it. Yeah. However, somehow, some way, a developer managed to make a game that was received even worse than those pieces of crap. Mm-hmm. And deservedly so. What game was that, Saib? And tell us what went down.
Well, the day before yesterday, it came out. The day before came out. This was one of your most anticipated titles, not because you were actually interested in the actual game, but because you thought the news cycle around it would be insane.
And it was.
And it was. You called that one spot on.
I mean, it was pretty easy to do, but you know.
Yeah, and up until the game came out, I was literally sitting here going, I don't understand what this is. It's not a scam because they haven't charged players for it yet. It's not a this, it's not a that, because again, like it, and at one point I'm like, is this one of those like weird like psychological things that some college students do to write an essay about hype and what it does, and maybe it's all a hidden documentary on the on this stuff. And I was just so confused because I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I'm hearing about what this has to offer. And I'm shaking my head going, I don't understand. Where are they going with this? What are they possibly going to do? And so now we discover what it is. And to sum it up as best as I can, it was a bunch of people who thought they knew how they could do game development and who were immensely bad at communication and relied extraordinarily heavily on a bunch of weird factors like volunteer communications people. So they basically got people on Discord and say, hey, do you want to work for us to be our communication officers for this game? We can't pay you anything, but we'll put your name on the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it was. Basically, these guys took a bunch of store assets, essentially flipped it, and made a lot of money. I think some rough estimates were saying that it looked like they made in between like 6 and 10 million.
Okay.
And then they proceeded to shut down immediately following this. Now, they say they have debts and that's where the money is going to, but Steam has already been refunding pretty much everybody who's bought it. I don't know how much of that 6 million they'll hold on to.
So
I am sure there's lawsuits.
I can give you a little bit of a better idea. So this piece of news just actually came across my news feed while we were just talking. According to PC Gamer, in the first day, 200,000 early access copies were bought for the game on Steam. Mm-hmm. Within that same day, there were 91,000 refunds. So you said what, 10 million, between 6 and 10 million? So half of that at best.
It depends on where they bought, like who those buyers were, where they bought, what they used to buy it with, that kind of stuff.
Right. And, some people are still like, one thing that people should maybe keep in mind before they just say, oh, well, they're just taking the money and run. On their website, they are saying that anybody who wants a refund is going to get one. So we'll see if that actually holds true. But, anyways.
Yeah, so I still don't quite understand what they were doing and why they have done it this way. They just seem to have bad communications, and maybe it was partially bad luck, because I'm involved in dozens of pre-alpha, like vertical slice stuff, indie games, 1 man, 2 man, 3 man, 4 man, 1 man, 1 woman, 2 women, 1 man, 2 women, 1 woman projects, and I can guarantee you that I have never ever seen a communications team this bad
Yeah.
or this unlucky.
Yeah.
Mostly I think it's this bad. I really do think that it's pure ineptitude of not having like any proper communication. Every trailer that they put out could have been done better. Every single trailer they put out seemed to be emulating or just straight out copying a formula that was done, and everything that they did seemed to be following some weird formula that in some cases never worked. So it's very confusing. I have no idea what they were attempting to do here. It clearly didn't work very well. It there's clearly some major issues with the concepts that they were going for. So yeah, I honestly don't know what to tell you. It's dumb and stupid for them to have tried to do this way, and the product that they made was bad. And again, if I had the resources that they apparently had, I would have been able to make a way better game.
Yeah.
And again, I just don't understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, why they think that they're doing it this one way. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's very confusing, and yeah, it's just I'm still sitting back going, I still have no idea like what was going on here. The fact that they folded up shop so quickly,
After
just
the
on
fact.
a
Yeah.
just on a heartbeat. The fact that they couldn't seem to get the communication right, that this wasn't an MMO, but they were advertising it as an MMO, and that it's a lobby-based like mission game, where it's like you're in a lobby and then you move to a very small map area, you do quests there, and then you're done and you return. It's not an open world. It's not a vibrant world. But the fact that they kept on insinuating that it was so close to launch,
Yeah.
and again, like all these things that didn't make sense. So yeah, no, I don't know why they did that, and it's confusing. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, this is just going to be a textbook lesson in why every single like major game needs to have a PR department. Because given everything that's happened, I can easily see why people saying that this was a purposeful scam, and they took the money and run. But I can also understand why people are saying like they're just incompetent and they just didn't know how to handle their money properly. And even though they were trying to make a game, it just fell apart. But sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it's almost as incompetent as a certain company that had been running a game showcase for the past few years.
Yeah. Do you want to transition into that?
Transition?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, E3 is dead, ladies and gentlemen. E3 is no more. It is no longer. It does.
Of the angels. Yeah.
It is deader than a dead thing that is really, really dead.
It's not even regular dead. It is dead as hell. Let's put it that way.
And I've got to say that, I mean, the writing has been on the wall for years, and this is a showcase in ineptitude and a failure to understand how to actually grow. Like again, this should be a classroom case on why you should not screw around with this kind of stuff, and how not to fail at growing your business in changing times, because this was changing times, and apparently to some, changing times and changing with the times meant, hey, let's just be big dumb idiots and do everything possible wrong in the wrong way. And so that's what you had here. And
yeah.
I don't feel sorry for them, because it's that level of ineptitude. It's that level of like, you know, we went there. We tried to like become like to be a part of the thing in a business professional manner, that we bought and paid for. We bought the business access. We said, we're here as a business to do this, this, and this. They said, sure thing. We showed up and they said, can't do any of those things. Nope. Leave your camera at your hotel. You can't do interviews. No, we've arranged and paid for it. No, we're, hey, we made agreements with these studios to actually sit down and interview them. No. You didn't talk to us, so we're not allowing you to do that. And then you look over and you see Polygon, Kotaku, PC Gamer just walking in, like walking right through that exact same barrier with all their equipment, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, no, those people are pre-approved." Yeah. It's like, what was there? I'm sorry, is there a different? Like, we bought the business access. What did they buy? The business access. So why are we being treated differently? Well, because you're small fry. It's like, okay, well, guess who still has a job?
Karma comes around. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's an arrogance that is very stupid and has claimed a business like Blockbuster, like all these other companies that have come before, where it's like the writing's on the wall for years telling you need to move your company in a new direction. And they sit around hum-ha and go, I don't think we're going to do anything like that. We're smarter than that. We'll figure something out that sticks with our old model of doing business. It's like, yeah, your old model of doing business doesn't work. You can't sell horseshoes in mass in New York City anymore because there's no horses on the streets. Yeah. Anybody who thinks that they're immune from that kind of change in progress and in society, you're the only thing you're doing is you're preparing yourself to be your own tombstone.
Yeah.
So
you have to adapt. There's a YouTube creator that I'm fond of, a guy named Nakey Jakey, who's done this great series of videos where he looks at the game design philosophy of very popular companies and why it's outdated. He's done it for Naughty Dog. He's done it recently for Bethesda. It's a different, same general business, the world of gaming, but, different things here. But you get my point. You have to adapt to the times. You have to adapt to the change of market. And the people behind E3 were not able to do that. And it's a shame because, Syb, every year I look forward to this event because it was effectively gaming Christmas for everybody. It's when a whole bunch of new announcements were going to be made. A lot of them were lies, but a lot of them weren't. And a lot of the announcements that were made at a lot of these shows were unforgettable. They were magical. Like, just out of the top of my head, moments like when Sony did their press conferences where they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake, or when they did that huge dunk on Microsoft, back in 2013, like one of the most epic moments in the history of gaming, where they were like, yeah, we're not going to do what Microsoft is doing with the Xbox One, where you can't share the games that you buy with your friends. That was wonderful. What else? The Last of Us, when that, the trailers were shown for that, when God of War was announced. Yeah, I know these are mainly PlayStation. There are other ones though. Yeah, but these were just off the top of my head. It was such a magical time of year, and that's not to say that we're not going to get something like that every single June, because we still have Summer Game Fest. We're still going to have people doing showcases around that time. It just won't be within the context of E3. There won't be that many. It won't be all homogenized in one place, and it's a shame, but who knows? Maybe somebody else will come along and pick up the mantle and give us something that E3 should have done in the first place. But yeah, it is what it is. Rest in peace, my friend. You will be missed. All right, so that does it for this episode of Maximum News. Sorry to end on that dour note. At least we have a lot of great games to look forward to in 2024. And yeah, it's not always going to be like this. All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you leave a comment if you have any thoughts on any of the things that Syb and I talked about. Syb, you want to plug anything before we finish?
No, that we've got more stuff on the way. It's kind of like this very, very hectic time of the year. So, but we do have content that we're working on. So can't wait to show you that because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Very hectic time of the year. God, I can't believe it's less than Yeah, less than 2 weeks until Christmas. My God. But yeah, and you guys could just find me on all the regular forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I will have a video coming out on Sunday, I think. It's going to be called The Greatest Video Game That North America Never Got. And if you want to find out what that game is, you should tune in on the 17th. Yes, the 17th of December at around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss it. I think you'll like the video. That does it for us, guys. We'll be doing this again next time. It'll probably be the last show that we do for 2024. Until then, I want to remind you, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.
Goodbye.